Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. My name is Faustino Dagdag. All my friends call me Dag, and I really like you to do the same. I'm with the Wahiawā Value Added Product Development Center as a business development coach. I welcome all of you who are here today. And so today we're talking about something pretty interesting. When you're a startup, one of the things that you really don't think about is, how do I build my customer base? And there's a couple of pitfalls in it. So what we want to do, what I want to do today, is to cover some very important ways in which to build your customer base without overextending your financial capital. So today, that's what we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at a model called AIDA, AIDA, and it's a classic marketing communications tool that will go ahead and dramatically reduce your burn rate, but also dramatically increases your conversion rate. So if you don't mind, I'll get started. I'm going to share my screen. There you go. Let's get this up. All right. So both the lunchtime series, how the AIDA model builds customer base. And we always start out with a short commercial of the Wahiawā Value Added Product Development Center. So I'm going to show you a quick video of the center and our Chancellor, Carlos Pinaloza, explaining the goals and the mission of the center. So I'm going to click that. And whenever I show a video, it's a two-step process. This is the first stop, trying to get that video up. The next step is to start at the share screens. Boom.
The Wahiawā Value Added Product Development Center adds to the educational mission of community colleges. Hawaii has celebrated success in agriculture, and we want to promote agriculture by investing in
All right, so that's a brief commercial, and both of you have been at the center, and all of you, in fact, have been at the center. So, again, this is for the benefit of those who's going to be watching the video after. So let's get back to AIDA model. I call it AIDA. The right pronunciation varies from AIDA to AIDA. I prefer AIDA. It sounds more dramatic. So let's take a look at it. So first of all, let's take a look at business startup failures. And this is always a concern for anyone who's going to start a business, currently in business, is what's the failure rate? And these are national statistics. In the first year, 21.5% will fail. By the second year, 30% who started would have failed. And by the fifth year, pretty much half have not been able to survive. At the 10th year, 70% would have gone and only 30% slept. This is a national statistic. So let's take a look. What is Hawaii's failure rate, startup failure rate? It is 25.4% fail within the first year, which is higher than the national average. It is the fourth highest first-year failure rate in the nation, so that's substantially above the national rate. And 35 to 50%, depending on the industry, would have failed by year 3. Again, this is above the national rate. So these are, startling statistics if you're a startup. And let's take a look. Why such a rate occurs so early? So this is, again, a national survey. This is about a year and a half old, the information. So let's take a look at the top reasons why startups fail. First one is ran out of cash. It's, not enough money. They couldn't find enough money. That's the number one reason. The second reason is no marketing, which means they had a product that was solving no problem. So there was no need in the marketplace for the product or service. The third reason at 20% is they got outcompeted. The competition just ran them over. 19%, very close to that third reason. Is the fourth reason was their business model was not set up correctly. Again, this is something that at the Wahiawā Center we will try to do through the Kinaoli Entrepreneurship Program as well as the AIDA Keiki program. Other reasons were legal issues. Surprisingly, pricing and cost issue, which people think is really at the high, is really at a sixth place minimal. So I want to focus now on that number one reason, the main reason that startups fail. Let's expand that too. Ran out of cash, failed to raise new capital. And another startling statistic is 82% of startups fail due to cash flow. So this is a really high percentage in which startups fail at a rate of 82% because they ran out of cash. So you might say, well, how does that happen? And this is how it happens. The cash burn rate is faster than incoming revenue streams. So you say, well, so what's a burn rate? So the technical term for definition of burn rate is a term used to describe how quickly a company is spending its cash reserves to cover overhead costs. So what happens is that as you're running your business, as your startup starts to gain traction, gets to grow, your expenses will also grow as well. What needs to take place is that you need to have your revenue streams coming in at a faster rate than your money or burn rate is leaving. So the result is money is flowing out faster due to rising expenses, with sales unable to keep up with the outflow. This is how burn rate causes businesses to fail. And these are the primary drivers. These are the main causes why startups end up burning a lot of cash. And the first one is aggressive marketing and customer acquisition costs. This is really at the very top. The second one is high customer churn. Customer churn refers to you get a customer, but you can't hang on to them. They may buy your product or your service once, and they'll never buy it again. So we call that churn, unable to keep customers. The one that's really, in my experience, is the third one. It's really tragic in my mind, and that's premature scaling and overhiring. One of the things happens to startups, they will have some early success, and if they're not careful, they're going to try to scale much too early. And when you try to scale at a higher rate, what's going to happen is your expenses rise dramatically upward. And so this causes a lot of issues with your cash flow. And the next fourth one is overhead and long-term leases. Again, it's the anticipation that my business will grow at a certain rate. So you go ahead and sign long-term leases on facilities and equipment, and your sales doesn't materialize. And fifth item is extended sales cycles. For all of you here that engage in startups, what you want to do is you want to make sure that when you start to engage in a sale, that it doesn't take long to close. For a lot of businesses, this is in the high traffic area. So I want to focus though. These 5 are important. I want to just focus on the first 2. Aggressive marketing and customer acquisition costs and high customer churns. So I'm going to start low. Just to ask, is there any questions about those 2 terms? Dagdag, nice to join you. Thank you for joining. Any questions about those terms? And Celeste, thank you for joining as well. If you don't have
nice to join. Sorry, I'm driving, so I'm not gonna be engaging unless I have a question.
I guess. All right, nice to hear from you again. Make sure you drive safely. So let me go back. To the slides and some explanations. I think we're here. Now, we're looking at this aggressive marketing and customer acquisition and high customer churn. What happens is that more money, again, is flowing out because the customer base is not growing fast enough to keep up with the burn rate. And this is the ironic part. You realize I have to get more customers, because I need more revenue. And then you embark on trying to gain more customers. And by trying to gain more customers, you actually maybe throwing on more fuel through the burn rate. You know what? Yeah. And this is the reason why. When you're trying to expand and find new customers, you expend your money on advertising, promotions, websites, new websites, and social media context. So these all increase your expenses, but they may be inefficient. And if they're inefficient in their delivery of the message, what you have is you don't have the impact as you need to gain new customers, and you really are not acquiring enough customers, or maybe no additional customers, and that drives this item we call CAC, or customer acquisition cost. Let me talk a little bit about this. Is one of those hidden items in any startup or any business in which it secretly will try, if you're not careful, will start to erode your customer base. Let me explain. Customer acquisition cost, what we call CAC, is the total amount of money a business spends to convince a new customer, a new customer, to buy its product or service. This is really important. You're chasing people to buy a new product. It includes all your marketing campaigns, advertising expenses, and costs of getting sales there. One of the things that happens if your high CAC is not producing, what's going to happen, it will slowly erode your current customer base. I mean, it actually just, you're using so much cash resources that's causing your overall business to suffer. And so to explain this a little bit better, what I want to look at, have you see is 2 diagrams. The diagram to your left, which is a profitable business, is, if you look at, it may be hard to see from your screen, but that little green box is your CAC, cost to acquire customer. And the tall green one goes monetization, something we call lifetime value. So a lifetime value is the amount of revenue a single customer generates over the lifetime of that customer's relationship with you. Just means that if you get a customer and the customer says, I really like your product, they keep coming back. And when they keep coming back, they're going to give you more money. So it dramatically raises your income. But also, every time they come back, your cost to acquire them falls almost to zero, because they've come to you. You've invested money to get them to you for the very first time. And then when they buy that first product from you, and then they come back, you didn't have to ask them to come back. You didn't have to run an ad to have them come back. You didn't do a lot of things. They just came back. And so this is what we're looking for in this model. In a profitable business model, you want your customer acquisition costs to be much lower than your lifetime value, how much money that customer will give you over the life of the relationship. Unfortunately, for a lot of startups, they end up with the diagram to the right, which is the cost to acquire a customer is dramatically higher than the money that they're receiving per customer. This is why we're always looking for what is your CAC. So you might, so I don't know how many of you watch Shark Tank, but if you do watch Shark Tank, a greater part of most entrepreneurs do watch Shark Tank from time to time. What they really, if you look at Mr. Wonderful, he always asks, what's the customer acquisition cost? And what's the lifetime value? And that question that he asks, and something Mark Cuban will ask it, or one of the other sharks will ask it, is to determine what's the efficiency of that business in acquiring customers and then growing the business from that customer. So this is where you as an entrepreneur want to develop this model in which your customer acquisition cost is much lower than your lifetime value. So how do you do that? So the question always comes, how do you do that? And why does it happen that it's on the red side where you have a failing business? And this is what happens as they're trying to find more customers. So you embark on a campaign, spending on advertising, doing new promotions, creating websites, do more social media communication. This increases expenses. But unfortunately, if you're not careful, this additional activity to gain more customers, to build your customer base, the messaging may be delivered in an ineffective methodology. What happens for a lot of companies, startups especially, their advertising, promotional, and social media messages and campaigns are ineffective because they're executed in what we call in marketing the buckshot approach. And so you might say, well, I don't know if any of you are hunters. And if you are, you sort of understand how a shotgun works. But if you're not, let me explain. How a shotgun works is that there is a particular cartridge bullet that holds maybe 25 to 40 little pellets, BB pellets. And then when they see a duck flying and they're trying to hit the duck, they fire the buckshot cartridge at the duck, which means when it leaves the barrel of the rifle, there's like 40 or 50 little pellets flying all over the place, really spreading out. And the hope is one or more of those pellets will hit the duck, and you have now the opportunity to have a duck dinner. The problem with the buckshot approach is that not all the pellets are going to hit the duck. In fact, sometimes none of the pellets hit the duck. And so what happens is that you have just, your resource allocation, your resource uses of cash has just gone up dramatically, and you really haven't hit as many targets as you want to. And this is the classic buckshot approach. This is what causes a lot of startups when they try to engage in build their customer base. They oftentimes are now moving into messaging, campaigns, social media, and they're using the buckshot approach. They're just firing into what they think is a mass of segments, marketing segments, and hopefully they'll hit something and somebody will come in and buy something. This unfortunately just drives your cash burn rate up the wall because you're getting way more misses than you're getting hits. So what's the opposite of that? In the world of marketing, the opposite of that is what we refer to as the rifle shot approach. It's much more effective in attracting new customers as well as retaining current customers. So what this does, if you're looking at a diagram, you see the diagram where you have a target and you in the middle of it is a bullet hole, just one bullet hitting the target. So this approach really looks at selecting a customer segment, a very specific customer segment, and targeting and creating specific messages and activities that generate and acquires, that activates and engages new customers. What it does is that it's a messaging system that will get people, new customers, to really get involved with your business. This approach results in higher conversion rate. Conversion rate means you have somebody who is not a customer but is now looking at converted into a purchasing customer. So conversion rate really says somebody's interested, now they've converted to a purchasing customer. So this approach results in a higher conversion rate, and it dramatically conserves your valuable cash resources because you're firing at a very specific target and you're getting reaction from that very specific target. This conserves your cash because you're not missing you're not wasting a lot of resources and missing targets. And one of the classic and ways to do a rifle shot is the subject of today's talk story session. And this is the AIDA model. AIDA, I like to call it AIDA model, sounds more dramatic again. So this particular communications model, A stands for attention, I for interest, D for desire, and the second A is for action. You can see it's in a funnel shop where attention is wider than action. So let me explain how this model and the rifle shot approach is very, very good to build your customer base. So the AIDA model is a classic marketing communications framework that outlines the 4 stages, mental stages a customer goes through before making a purchase. So attention is what is it? Interest is I like it. Desire is I want it. And action is I'm getting it. So this is when you have a brand new customer. This is the mental gymnastics that they go through to make the final decision whether they will buy it or not buy it. What is it? I like it. I want it. I'm getting it. So what I want to do is to explain each of the different alphabets and how you can use them to build your customer base in a rifle shot approach so that you get more conversion rates and you get more customers for the money that you are expending or investing to get the customers in. So let's take a look. Let me just stop here just one more time. Any questions on anything right now? Just a lot. If not, Adriana, thank you for joining. Again, I can only see who comes in when I stopped it for a while. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. So if there's no questions, let me get back to the slide. Let's share my screen. So let me get this guy out of the way. So attention, the first A, grabbing the customer's focus. This is a very important part. The goal is to capture the customer's attention within 1 to 3 seconds and make them aware of your product. Now that's what if you really think about it, 1 to 3 seconds is really a long time. In this first stage, the key is to stand out from your competition and engage the customer's curiosity, which means You have to get them, a customer as they go through, whether they're watching television, or walking through a mall, reading, or just talking to friends, have a lot of things on your mind. So what you want to do at this first stage is to find a way to break through and get them to pay your attention. And so some ways to do that is use a relatable problem. So every business exists to solve a problem. So what you want to do, if you've targeted a certain segment, so this segment, I believe, had the problem that I want to solve, then you might want to start off by giving them a relatable problem. As an example, whenever I'm walking through the mall at Leeward, not Leeward, at Kaneohe, there's always this one shop. It's a foot shop, and there's a big sign in the window that says, "Do you have foot pain?" At that point, I don't have a foot pain, but if I did have a foot pain, yeah, when I see that sign that says, "Do you have foot pain?" I'm gonna go, "Yeah, I think I have some." The second thing you can do is use ask a thoughtful question, which means you're going to ask a question in which you think that customer might want some response. Again, going back to the foot store. So the sign says, "Do you have foot pain?" All right, so that's a relatable problem. So what if you convert it to a thoughtful question? Would you like your foot pain to go away? Oh yeah, sure, I'd like my foot pain to go away. So here's a question. And the third thing you can do is throw a surprising statistic. Like I started today, I started off with those numbers about early failure rates. Some of them were shocking. The most shocking of those statistics is that 82% of startups fail because of cash flows. This is starting statistics. So again, you can use a statistics to get their attention. The others make a bold statement. And again, going back to my foot store, one of the bold statements that they can make is possibly something like, we can make your foot pain go away in 12 hours. Well, okay. And the last thing you can use is an eye-catching, striking visual. Again, one of the things when you walk by that foot store, there's always a picture of some poor lady in pain, sort of grabbing her foot. So I'm using this foot store as an example of how you can use your particular business and your concept to drive attention. Again, it's up to you to really develop how you can use a relatable problem, and that's the problem your product is trying to solve, or ask a thoughtful question, or show a surprising statistics, make a bold statement, or use an eye-catching, striking visual. Any one of these can be very, very effective in stopping a prospective customer and saying, "Oh, I think I want to learn more." And this is the whole goal of attention, to get them to a state where it's, I want to learn more. I want to know more. I got a problem, and so I want to learn more about it. Or that surprising statistics I saw, I want to learn more about it. This first stage is to get your customers to be interested in learning more about your product. What I want to do next is that I want to go over to the I side, but before I'm thinking of particular, let me ask. So Marilyn, I know you're in a business in which you're providing great user. So, as an example, what will you use to have to get people's attention in your business?
Some of the things that we've been doing is trying to have a more colorful and eye-attracting booth and display. Some of the things was like, a lot of people don't know what turon is, so instead of saying turon, we say banana lumpia, or we try to make it where it's names that people know of. instead of just the actual name of it. And basically our display is more colorful and has lights, so now you can actually see us in the dark.
Okay, good. So I like that. So now you stand out from your competition because you can see you in the dark. All right, good.
Yeah.
No, it's a great example. Yeah, no, thank you for joining us. I can only see who comes in after I break away from the slide. So thank you for joining us. So Marilyn, this is a good example of getting attention. So let me get back to the eye. So eye is interest. So let me get this. Okay. So once you've gotten their attention, you need to now sustain. I want to know more. You want to provide some valuable information. And so you're going to focus on educating the buyer. So what we want, now that you've got them to say, hey, this is interesting stuff, I want to learn more, you really now have to be able, and the goal is to have the customer understand why your product or your service can solve their problem better than any other alternative. This is the idea. Your product or your service solves their problem, but it solved their problem better than any alternative. And so you can do this by providing some very concrete information about features is what the product does. And so too many times what startups do is when they get into this area, they involve themselves too much in the features. This is what it, and so they go over, on and on and on about what my product does. But they really should be at this point talking about the benefits, how it helps them. So I have features, and the benefit is this. As going back to my foot, the reason I keep going back to foot because every time I'm at the mall, I look at that store and I think it's a classic AIDA component. So the feature is I got shoe inserts. Benefit is you'll never hurt again. So this is where in this interest, you're going to give them key information about what it does, then key information on how it helps them. The third thing you need to provide is a unique value proposition, which is a fancy term for why is it better than anything else out there. So these are the three components, educational components that you need to provide for your prospect, what it does, how it helps, why it's better. And you can do this through demonstrations or sampling. Sampling is always a great way. And the other one is more powerful is testimonials, having past customers or experts say this is the reason. So this interest area is really more of an area of facts. Almost, it's an area where you're providing them facts about your product, what it does, how it helps, why it's better, and this is how you can get them involved. So this is the area. And for a lot of startups, what happens is this is where they stop. They stop in this interest area. I give you all the facts about my product. I'll give you some benefits. Tell you why is why. And you stop here. Yeah, but you need to move on to the D. And the D is desire. This is really important from the standpoint that after you have given these critical information about your product or your service, the customers will then evolve. In this stage, the customer has moved from rational understanding of the benefits and how to solve the problem to an emotional belief it will make their life better. Now, this is important. People buy based on emotion and justify it based on facts. So in this desire stage, they know about the facts. You're trying at this stage is to create an emotional connection. And to create an emotional connection, you stop talking about your product, what it does, and you start talking about how we'll make their life better. This is critical. Your customer is at this very stage in which, yeah, I know all the facts you gave me, and it's interesting. I know what it does, and I'm trying to make a decision. And now you're going to really explain to them that my product will help you make life better because, and this is the critical part, they've already in the stage of trying to make that decision. So you need to describe clearly how the benefits will make their lives better. One of the critical things, your life will become better because of my cheesecake. Your life will become because of my pateli, whatever it is that you're producing. And you have to give them a value reason why it'll make their life better. The other thing you need to do is to provide interactive experiences like demos, trial uses, samples, tips on benefits. What you want to do is to get them engaged so that their emotions are matching up with their logic. They're starting to believe my life will be better because of these benefits. Ways you can do that is through in-depth testimonials, blog posts, videos, demonstrations. Again, you want to get your customers involved in it. So if you're selling food products, it's very easy to get them involved through sampling or to look at talk about the texture of this or the sweetness of that. So at this stage, you want to build this emotional connection. Just remember that people buy based on their emotion and justify it on the facts. So in this desire stage, you will really try to get this connection built. And it's actually easier. Once you get into it, it's actually easier than you think it might be. Once you get them into the desire stage, this is an area that for a lot of new startups, for a lot of brand new customers, the next stage is the one that really sort of, gets them, I'm not so sure about this. And let me explain why. You get them to this very stage that, yeah, they believe their life will be better. They want you to buy the product. But here's the thing. Customers at this stage are at like a line in the sand. They're saying, yeah, I want the product. I really like it. But there's something in the back of their mind. So again, how I like to describe it a lot is people will come to the very edge of this, in their mind, the cliff of buying. What if I make the wrong decision? Oh, and that'll be really bad if I made the wrong. So in this final stage, the action stage, you need to make a very clear, what we call call to action. And it is you need to make a suggestion. I call it suggestion. You don't want to be pushy about it. A suggestion that you should take action now. And again, for a lot of startups, this is the stage in which there is, some, mental tug of war. I don't want to be pushy, but I believe in my product, but I don't want to be pushy. On the customer side, what they're thinking is, I really want this, but am I making the right decision? So these two, the seller and the buyer, are at this edge. And what you, the seller, you as the entrepreneur, you as the business owners need to do is to help the customer make the final decision to acquire your product. And this is something I really like to teach a lot of salespeople, especially, is that you have to help the first-time customer understand that you are there to help. So in this case, when you make the call to act, I want you to do this, you might want to do is explain why taking action now will make their life better. As an example, going back to the food store. So they come into the store and you get the insert and say, this is a great time for you to put these inserts into your shoe, because from this moment on, your foot pain will be, gone. So explain why taking action now will make their life better. Again, it's really in the minds of the consumer. I want to show you. In the minds of the consumer, they've already made that decision. I want to buy. They just need to be convinced that it is the right decision. The other thing you can do is provide clear incentives for acting now. Again, it could be, you get a free socks or some discount, or buy it now because we have a sale going on. And so you have to give them a clear idea what incentives they will have for acting now. And a lot of times this happens when you have sales. One of the things coming up is you got Father's Day coming up, which is, holiday. Whenever you have the opportunity as far as a holiday, so what's coming up in the next several months, you have the opportunity for Father's Day, you have the opportunity for the 4th of July. These are situations in which you can provide incentives for people to act on buying your product. Again, these are things that I want you to consider. The other thing is create urgency to take action now. Again, the idea, the customer has already in their mind have made the decision, they just need a little hand holding to cross over. And this is where you can create some urgency, like, the sale ends today, or whatever you want to do in terms of some urgency. I'm here till 2:00, whatever. Again, it's up to you to decide. But a case of slight urgency always helps the customer to decide, yes, I should act now. The other thing is clearly show how easy it is to buy your product. And I know all of you may have gotten into a situation in which you have decided to buy the product, but then as you try to purchase the product, there are so many hoops and barriers to acquisition that you say, I don't think so. Maybe I'll come back next week and we'll talk about it. But what you want to do is that when this customer is at this final stage and you're making a call to action, you want to make sure that any barriers to them acquiring your product, purchasing your product, is absolutely gone. Make it and show them and explain to them how easy it is for them to purchase the product. And the last thing on this bullet points is assure them they are making the right decision. You will be surprised, absolutely surprised, how many people come to the edge, I want to buy, and they buy the product, and the seller does not assure them they've made the right decision. So again, the idea is at this very final stage, when the customer does take that action to buy your product, buy your service, the next thing is for you to assure them that they made the right decision. But any questions on where I've taken you so far? No questions? All right. So we've been talking about how to get the customers to move from prospective to a buyer, which then builds your customer base. The other part about building your customer base is not losing customers. So there's two parts to building a customer, is that you acquire your customers and they're your original base. The next level is to acquire new customers to build your base. But there's the other stage is that you want to keep your customers in place. You don't want them to go away, because remember, when we look at the reasons why you have high burn rate, one of them is churn. You can get them for the first time, but then they don't come back to buy again. So what we want to do is to use the AIDA model as a retention. So let me show you this. So almost down to the final stages. We got about 15 minutes left. We'll get you out of here quite early. So now that we've gotten people to join your customer base for the first time, you also want to look at those already in that base. So the AIDA model supports customer retention by treating the buyer's journey as a continuous cycle. This is one of the things, as you are a startup, what happens for a lot of startups, in my experience, is that they're so happy to get a sale. They treat the sale as a transaction. I mean, you give me money, I give you the product. That's a transaction. And that is one of the ways in which you have churn. Because at this point, the customer has a product, but they feel like, just wanted to sell me something. What we want to do here is to get you to understand that by using the AIDA model as a retention tool, you can keep your customers coming back, and every time they come back, your lifetime value rises and your customer acquisition cost drops. So this is how you would use the AIDA model to retain your customers, not just to attract new ones, but to retain current ones. So the first one, when you look at attention, you can keep existing. So what you want to do is to always give them more information about new features, product updates, what's new, exclusive personalized content. So what you want to do is you always keep them saying, oh, what is that? What's it? So this is a case where we talk about, when we do entrepreneurial training, we talk about these customer retention programs. And this is one of the key ones. If you can keep your current customer engaged by putting announcement, have some way to stay in connection with your clients. So you can give them updates, you can give them new offerings, you can even get personalized type of offerings. So this is how you get there to something new. Oh, what is that? I want to see what's that. The next thing on the retention side, on the interest side, what you want to do is provide educational resources. Now that they bought your product for the first time, you want you have a way to keep in contact. You want to keep giving them more information about how to use the current product they bought, or about new things that you can do, new uses of the product, like tips on. Now that you've did it, you want to keep them interested by providing them more educational things. And this is, again, a way to keep your customers interested, because, oh, yeah, this is helpful tips. I really like it. I hope I get more. Again, the interested is, I want to know more. On the desire side for retention, you got to give your customers the VIP, or very important people, treatment. You can put them into loyalty programs, which gives them special benefits or special notification. You can give them early access to sales. Yeah, you're invited to a very special friends and family sale, or special upgrade incentives. And this is, airlines do this quite a bit. The airlines say, a couple of extra more trips and you get a free trip. Give them a special incentive. Keep them wanting more, to, again, keep them always wanting more, because they want to be part of your relationship. And the A, action, you always want to make sure that your current customers are given enough, I shouldn't say privilege, but special treatment, so that the checkout process or the purchase process, the renewal process, is easier for them, because they've been with you for a long time. You don't want them to jump through hoops every time they make a purchase. So this is, again, a way for you to engage customers by making that final transaction easier and easier. Every time they come back, it becomes easier for them to go ahead and make the product. And we're almost towards the end. We have just about a couple of minutes left. So why does the AIDA framework work? It works because it matches how humans think. This is really, really important. Humans think in such a way. In the model that it follows, the AIDA model follows this classic logical progression. I think, I feel, I behave. So I think, I feel, I take action. And so this is where that AIDA framework works, capturing the initial focus, which is I'm thinking, educating on benefits and building emotional connection, that's feeling, removing friction so they can confidently make a purchase. Now that I made the connection, I want to buy the product, I'm going to buy the product. It's so easy to acquire the product. So the AIDA model works because it follows how humans think. So we're just about a couple of minutes before we're going to get you to leave. So, more quickly, I'm presenting you. We are having our next cohort of Kinoli entrepreneurship, and if you are interested in enrolling in this 8-week course, it'll teach you how to start a business. It gives you everything that will help you develop your agricultural product-based business. Again, it's an 8-week course. And if you go ahead to take a picture of the QR code, we'll give you more information on each of this. But yeah, again, you gotta love this course. If you want to start a business, you gotta really like this course. And because it gives you hands-on ways in which to start that business the right way. Kinoli, by the way, is an ancient Hawaiian term meaning doing the right thing at the right time for the right people for the right reason. And this is what we want you to do. We want you to start your business with integrity, clarity, and purpose. And again, the first, if you can register by July 20th, the first class is on July 23rd. It runs for 8 weeks from 5:30 to 7 p.m. I hope to see you there. The other thing I want you to do, if you want one-on-one complimentary consultation with me, you can either check with the Wahiawā Value Added Product Development Center or click on the QR code, and you can have a direct link to set up an appointment with me. We also love to see you at the Value Added Product Development Center. We're constantly adding new things and new ways to look at things. So please make an appointment with us, and I'll personally give you a tour. There's 7 of us who can make tours for you, but we want you to come and visit us often. And the last thing is mahalo nui loa for investing your afternoon with me. I really appreciate you all coming. And so I do appreciate that you invested your time with me and giving up your lunch hours to talk story with me. Is there any questions at this point before I let you all run off to do fun things? Thank you all for coming. I really enjoy meeting all of you as well as those I met before. And see you at the center. You have a great afternoon. Have a great weekend. We'll see you soon. Thank you.
Bye-bye.